Was good. So I'm back real quick. I want to do a follow up on this marriage thing. Um, you know, it behooves me to tell y'all, and it's go more into depth. I know I did my last one and it was kind of, it was kind of brief and quick, but I want to kind of get, further into details with it real quick. So let's go into marriage, right? We're going to go to the book of Genesis, right? So in the book of Genesis, it said, and Adam said to this is now done of my bones and flesh of my flesh. She shall be called woman, womb of a man, because she was taken out of a man. Therefore shall a man leave his father and mother and shall cleave unto his wife, and there shall be one flesh. Right? So we understand that. Now these here is Hebrew words right here. It tell you what one means. So when you pull up the word like one, it'll tell you what it means in Hebrew. So if I look up one in Hebrew, it'll show you every few first, a man once only, other, some, or together, like that, one. And flesh, right? It'll tell you right here, like a kin, necklace, self, skin. So one flesh, right? Now, understand this here. Hold on. I'm going to show you something else. When you read the book of Malachi, right, it tells you, right, that marriage is a covenant. You understand? Before God. It's not just dating, it's a covenant before God. It tells you that marriage is not dating or living together, it's a covenant before God. So when you go to Malachi 2 and 14, let's start at 13. And this have you done again, covering the altar of the Lord with tears, with weeping and with crying out, so much that regardless not the offering anymore. Okay. So let's go to 14. Yet he say, wherefore, because the Lord have been witness between thee and thy wife, the Lord hath to witness of thy youth, against whom thou hast dealt treacherously, yet is she thy companion and the wife of that covenant. And when you bring a covenant in the Hebrew, we understand because made passing between pieces of or a covenant lead. It tells you here that a covenant is the passing between pieces of flesh. So a covenant is, where we know it's a binding between God and man. And it's telling you here that the wife of that covenant, he gave wife to man. What I'm trying to say here, hold on, I'm going to get to it in 1 second. Also, it tells you right here that the Lord have been witness. What is the witness in Hebrew? Okay. Solemnly, stand upright, testify, give warning, call to, give, take to. So the Lord, it said the Lord have been witness between thee and thy wife of the youth. In other words, the Lord have to witness. He had to bear witness the marriage. He have to be in the midst of your marriage. You understand? You have to, that's why I say when I went to Genesis, you have to become one flesh through the covenant, through God. You have to be on the same path, spiritual path, both blessing and serving God. Now, it also tell you, hold on, wives and husband, Ephesians. It tells you here, wives, submit yourself unto your husband as unto the Lord. For the husband is the head of the wife, even as Christ is the head of the church, and he is the Savior of the body. Therefore, as the church is subject unto Christ, so let the wives be their own husband in everything. So let the wives be to their own husband in everything. And they tell you, husband, love your wives even as Christ also loved the church and gave himself for it. Right? So again, if you have a woman that will not submit to God, she definitely ain't supposed to submit to you in so many words. That's it. You have to, the wives have to. If you have a God-fearing a wife that love and fear the Lord, she'll fear you. And when I say fear, I mean, she'll do right by you. But nah, if she don't do that, that's dead. Check it out. So now we got right. When you go to Hebrews 13:4, right here, it tells you marriage is honorable in all, and bed and the bed undefiled, but whoremongers and adulteries God will judge. Right? In other words, marriage is respected by God. Sexual relations are meant for marriage. For marriage. So understand. So let's see what Christ said about it. All right. So, and it came to pass that when Jesus had finished these saying, he departed from Galilee and came unto the coast of Judea beyond Jordan. And great multitude followed him, and he healed them there. The Pharisee also came unto him, tempting him, and saying unto him, is it lawful for a man to put away his wife for every cause? And he answered and said unto them, have you not read that he which made them at the beginning made them male and female? In other words, no man on man or woman on woman marriage, right? And said, for this cause shall a man leave father and mother, and shall cleave to his wife, and they twine shall be one flesh, as we read in Genesis, right? Wherefore they are no more twain. And what is twain in the Greek? Let me see. When they say twain in the Greek, a primary number two. Both twain two. So twain mean two. So they are no more twain, but one flesh. What therefore God have joined together, let no man put asunder. They say unto him, why did Moses then command to give a writing of divorcement and to put her away? So when you look at divorce in the Greek, properties, again, properly something separated. That is that divorce, writing of divorce. Okay, so divorce means separated. Okay, he said unto them, Moses, because of the hardness of our heart, suffer you to put away your wife, but from the beginning it was not so. Again, and I say unto you, whoever shall put away his wife, except before fornication. Fornication, what is that? Harlotry, including adultery and incest, figuratively idolatry. So, unless for fornication, and shall marry another man, right? Marry, to wed, to marry a wife, either sex, right? Another committed adultery. What is adultery? Adultery, commit adultery, okay? Again, we know what adultery is according to the Hebrew. Fornication with a married individual. And whoever's married her, which is put away, does commit adultery. His disciples said unto him, the case of the man be so with his wife, is it good to marry? But he said unto them, all men cannot receive this saying, save they to whom it is given. For there are some Enoch, right? And we know what an Enoch is. Just in case y'all don't know, Enoch is someone who doesn't have a private part that worked for a king. So let's just look up what this Enoch is in the Greek. And the reason why I say Greek, because the Hebrew at this time during Christ, the Bible was written in Greek, no longer Hebrew. A castrated person, such being employed, oriented in bed chambers, by extension, an important or unmarried man, right? So usually the king have an Enoch there. So for there are some Enoch which were so born from their mother's womb, and there are some Enoch which were made Enoch of men, and there be Enoch which have made themselves Enoch. For kingdom of heaven's sake, he that is able to receive, let him receive it. Right? You have to be under one doctrine. You and your wife have to be under the heavens. You have to pray together. You have to be one union. In other words, you become one. So I can't be praying to God, going to church every Sabbath, and you out at the club twerking. Or you can't be at church and I'm out shooting dice on the block or playing balls or watching football with the homies. We have to be one flesh, worshiping the Lord together because we is one flesh. And so when you doing things like that, when you keeping the Sabbath, when you keeping the feast days, when you eating clean food, when you praying 3 times a day, when you worshiping together and you following all 10 commandments or 613 commandments, when you doing them things as a union and you was married through a ordained man of God, not no judge at City Hall signing papers, give me $50, stamp it, and you good. Not that. Not a Christian church who want you to pay the money so you can buy them a new jet. Them not, people of God, not the Pope who ordained same-sex marriage. No, a real man of God, as John will baptize Christ, and some in that order, or one of the Levites, the Aaron, Moses, and I'm not saying that people equate it to them, people, because they have shoes that a lot of people would never feel. But someone who actually teach the Bible and and is follow the laws and commandments. And if that person marry you and he really practice and do the things that the Bible tell him to do, and because remember back in the day you used to have to go to the Father and commit or confess to your sins behind the box, but you got to give him $200 too in order for him to pray for you. Well, you got a body in the trunk, you're about to go, the mobs. That's why they cut all that stuff out. It was too much trickery. Now you can go directly to God through your own your spirit. You can directly, when the veil was broken, that's after Christ was crucified and the veil was broken, gave you direct access to God. Do that, So yes, you no longer need a priest or anything, but you will, just as Christ had to be baptized by John the Baptist, and he had to wash Peter and feet. Certain things have to be done, but by a ordained. So when you start doing that, now you consider married. So now if you go out there and you fornicate or cheat, do things like that, when you both were serving God together, and one of you did something like that, you're the guilty party because you was both worshiping and have faith in one God. Even spiritual fornication, like if you both under God, then you went to go be a Muslim. Now you praising another God, that's spiritual fornication. You can divorce for that. And I'm just speaking in general. But when you want to just divorce because, I'm not happy he hit me or things like that. It don't work like that. You have to stay married until that man, or you commit adultery, right? And we know the Ten Commandments say, "Thou shalt not commit adultery," right? Let's talk about it. And the God spoke all these words to Moses: "The Lord, that God which have brought you out of Egypt, give you out the house of bondage. You know what I'm saying? Thou shalt have no other God before me. Thou shalt not make unto," and when he say no other God before me, that means Allah, Buddha, whatever you want to call, Athena, Beyonce, all them are gods, you know, that people worship. Anything that you make and put in front of God is considered an idol. Thou shalt not make unto thee any graven image or any likeness of anything that's in heaven above, or that in earth beneath, or that in the water under the earth. Now, you see how this is? These here is in Hebrew now. You understand what I'm saying? It's in Hebrew. So that's what the H is. Remember, the other one was in with the G. So these idols right here, worshiping God is spiritual, like worshiping, you know, something you can't see, like Allah, you know. And this here's the idol, the calf and things in that. Thou shalt not bow down to himself nor serve them, for I, the Lord, is a jealous God, visiting the iniquity of the fathers upon the children, upon the third and fourth generations of them that hate me. We fall in that generation. And showing mercy unto thousands of them that love me and keep my commandments. Now remember, this is Christ. When you read, when it say, keep my commandments. Now, let me show you real quick. Let's go down to the book of John real quick, because I need to close real quick. When you go to, where you at? Luke, John. When you go to John, and you go to 14 and 15, he's going to tell you right here. This is Christ talking to Moses. Same thing he telling the people. If you love me, right here. If you love me, keep my commandments. Right? This is Christ. Remember, it's in Greek. The commandments. Okay? The precept commandment. Okay? Authoritative commandment. If you love me, you'll keep my commandments. Right? That's John 14 and 15. Let's go back to Exodus 20. Right here. And again, that was Christ. So he right here. And showing mercy unto thousands of them that love me and keep my commandments. The commandments now is in Hebrew. What do commandments mean in Hebrew? It give you more meaning. Okay, a hermit divine, collectively commandment, law, or ordinance, precept. Okay, so we understand. Thou shalt not take the name of Lord thy God in vain. What is in vain? Saying swear. So from the same as H7722 in the sense of the desolating evil as destructive, literary ruin, or morally, especially figuratively, adultery or false, substantially useless as deceptive objectively. Also verbally in vain, false, lie, vain, vanity. So, you know, man, I swear to God, man, yeah, that's vain. Don't do that. For the Lord will not hold him guiltless that take his name in vain. Remember the Sabbath day to keep it holy. Sabbath. What is the Sabbath? Now, this is from the beginning. From intermission, that is every Sabbath. So, if you read, let's read that one now. And many figuratively or spiritually, celebrate, cause to fall, keep, suffer, to be, lacking, leave, put away, made to rest, steal, take away. So we understand Sabbath really means 7. Okay. the Sabbath day. The Sabbath, if every Sabbath. So yeah, we can go there too. Day to keep it holy, holy, which means to observe, clean, appoint, bid, concentrate, delegate, defile, hollow, be, keep, holy, keep, prepare, proclaim, purify, sanctify. Okay, lead oneself holy. Holy, right? So keep the Sabbath day holy. 6 days thou shalt do labor and do all thy work, right? But on the 7th, right here, the 7th, 7 times, that is 7th day is the Sabbath of the Lord thy God, and it thou shalt not do any work, thy son, nor thy daughter, thy man servant, nor maid servant, nor thy cattle, nor thy stranger that is within thy gate. So anybody in your house, if you're rich or do things in that order, you should not, under no circumstance, be doing any work. You got 6 days to do that. That's what he's telling you. 6 days. Right? And it says, for 6 days the Lord made heaven and earth, the sea and all that in them, and rested the 7th day. So the Lord blessed the Sabbath day and hallowed it. Now keep in mind, back in the day, there was no Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. All right, I want y'all to be clear on that. Them days did not exist. Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, them days didn't exist. That's why it doesn't come up in biblical teaching. It's not there. What do come up is the 1st day, the 2nd day, the 3rd day, the 4th day, right? So on the 10th month and the 7th day is what? You understand? So the 10th month and 7th day would probably be September, September the 7th. 10th month, 1st day. They don't do January, February, March, April. They don't do that. It wasn't even called that back then. It was called like Nassar and things in that order, right? So the 7th day always meant 7. So when you do Sunday worship on the 1st day, that's the 1st day. Sunday is the 1st day. Again, that's why he's telling you, for the 6 days the Lord made heaven and earth, right? And he rested, he kept the 7th day holy, right? So that's how that go. Honor thy mother and thy father, that thy days may be long upon the land which the Lord God hath given thee. Thou shalt not kill. Remember, kill don't mean murder. Kill, a permanent root property to dash in pieces, that is to kill, to slay, to put to death, especially to murder. So murder, kill, it's a different, it's different meanings to it. You can kill somebody in self-defense, but kill mean like just kill out of anger or out of hatred, malice. That's a different kill, right? Thou shalt not commit adultery. Remember the word adultery? When we talked about it in the the Greek, now we're in the Hebrew. What do I mean in the Hebrew? To commit adultery physically, to apostatize adultery. Commit adultery, woman that breaks wedlock. Woman that breaks wedlock. So remember what Christ say. To commit adultery. Woman that breaks wedlock. Not man, woman. It's adultery. Why? Because men can have more than one wives at the time. So the man that married that woman commit adultery. Adultery, that woman who broke a wedlock. That's adultery. Woman. Well, why don't say nothing about the man? Because woman was made for man. Man wasn't made for woman. Man was made for God. Woman was made for man. So you have to fall in certain orders. Thou shalt not steal. Thou shalt not bear false witness against thy neighbors. That means don't lie on nobody. Thou shalt not covet. Now this is something different too. Covet. What do covet mean? Broody, greatly beloved, the delectable thing, the light, desire, good, lust, pleasant thing, precious. Lust, don't want something that somebody else have that's not yours. Lust. Lust don't always mean sex, but lust mean wanting very, very badly. Thou shalt not covet thy neighbor's house. Thou shalt not covet thy neighbor's wife, nor his manservant, nor maidservant, nor his ox, or nor his ass, nor anything that's thy neighbor's. And all the people saw that thundering and the lightning and the noise of the trumpet and the mountain smoking. And when the people saw it, they removed and stood afar off. In other words, they got up out the way. So, I mean, we're just going through a couple of things, So, yes, again, you both have to be under a covenant. Now, I'm going to say this. A wife is a precious, very precious individual to a man, you know what I'm saying? Because it's our possession. You understand what I'm saying? So when we get a wife, the Bible says to get a wife is to get a good thing. For the man to find a wife, he find a good thing. You'll get that in Proverbs, right? Whoever finds a wife finds a good thing and obtain favor of the Lord. In other words, he's telling you that once you have a wife, God blesses that favor. Right now, we're still dealing with the Hebrew. So favor will be acceptable, good, pleasure, own self, will, as. So, right, desire, favor, good, pleasure, own self, voluntary will, as. You'll find favor from the Lord. And when they say obtain, right? Well, obtain favor. So they say whoever finds a wife, find. Okay. We know who wrote Proverbs, right? Cool. Who wrote Proverbs? David? Solomon? Yes. A permanent property to come forth to that is appear or existed transiently, to attain, that is find or acquire, figuratively to occur, meet, or be presented. So to find, occasionally out, get hold upon, have here, be here, hit, beat up. So, remember, Eve was brought to Adam while he was asleep. You know what I mean? So he was brought a good thing. So, again, y'all have to understand that, whenever you acquire a wife, that wife is that man's possession, right? And that man is a wife possession based on, regardless, because she can only have him. He can have many wives, and he can collect them all, but it tells you. Let me show y'all something. Then I'm going to close. Show y'all something. I'm going to go through this real quick because they, says laws about slaves. Now, these are the judgment which thou shalt set before them. Now, this is Moses talking. If thou buy an Hebrew servant, 6 years he shall serve, and the 7th he shall go out free for nothing. Okay, so let's get down. He came in by himself, he shall go out by himself. If he were married, then his wife shall go out with him. If his master had given him a wife, and she had borne him sons or daughters, the wife and children shall be her master's, and he shall go out by himself, because he came in and she was already property of the master's. And he, so he got down and did this and did that. But when you leave, that lady, she stays aboard, and the children and somebody else, he can marry her. So it's like, kind of like I'm saying, property. And if the servant shall plainly say, I love my master, my wife, and my children, I will not go out free. That means he choose to stay. Then his master shall bring him unto the judges. He shall also bring him to the door unto the doorpost, and the masters shall bore his ear through with an awl, and he shall serve him forever. So that means like because he don't want to leave that lady and the children, he giving up his freedom, and he gonna stay there, to be with his family. And if a man sell his daughter to be a maidservant, she shall not go out as the men servants do. If she please not her master who have betrothed her to himself, then shall he let her be redeemed to sell her unto a strange nation. He shall have no power, seeing he had dealt deceitfully with her. In other words, you can sell your daughter, to I guess a owner, to be a wife. And if he have betrothed her unto his son, he shall deal with her after the manner of daughter, right? If he take him another wife, her food, her raiment, and her duty of marriage shall not be diminished. And if he do these things three unto her, then shall she go out free without money, right? So that's just a couple of, when you're dealing with wives slaves. I'm telling you, this wife thing is bigger than Nino Brown. Check this out. Now, we're in this. So this marrying a female captive. When thou go forth to war against thy enemy, and the Lord thy God had delivered them into the hands, and thou hast taken them captive. Now, and seized among the captive a beautiful woman, and has a desire unto her, thou would have her to thy wife. Then thou shalt bring her home to thy husband, to thy house. She shall shave her head and pare her nails, and she shall put the raiment of her captivity from off her, and shall remain in thy house, and bewail her father and her mother a full month. And after that thou shalt go in unto her and be her husband, and she shall be thy wife. And it shall be, if thou have no delight in her, then thou shalt let her go whither she will, but thou shalt not sell her at all. For money thou shalt not make merchandise of her, because thou hast humbled her. You understand? Now, inheritance of the rights of the firstborn. If a man have two wives, one beloved and another hated, and they have borne him children, both the beloved and the hated, and the firstborn son be hers that was hated. Then it shall be, when he make his sons to inherit that which he have, that he may not make the son of the beloved firstborn before the son of the hated, which is indeed the firstborn. But he should acknowledge the sons of the hated for the firstborn by giving him a double portion of all that he have, for he is the beginning of the strength and the right of the firstborn. If a man have a, hold on, I don't think this one's it. Hold on for a second. So, in other words, if a man have two wives, right, one he love and another he hate, right, this law deals, with inheritance. In other words, he must treat them fairly. If the Deuteronomy, it say if a man has more than one wife, he must treat them fairly and not favor one over the other. All right. If a man have two wives, one beloved and another hated, and they had children, as we said, he may not, make the son of the beloved firstborn before the one he hated. In other words, you have to treat the wives fairly, and it just states that when you're dealing with wives, two, three, whatever. You have to, because remember, Gideon had more than one wife. David had more than one wife. Who else had? Solomon had more than one wife. When you start dealing, with a lot of kings, They have multiple wives. You know, wives are prized possessions for men. You know what I'm saying? But they have to be dealt with delicately. They have to be dealt with, you know, you can't be harsh with them. They have certain rights because they bound to certain things. If your wife commit adultery, she can be stoned to death on the spot. You understand? So when you're dealing with the wife, you have to it's certain ways and laws that protect her under the heavens. You know, so yeah, you can get a wife or two or three or four, but you must be able to take care of all of them the same much. You can't just have a wife and you love her more than her and she getting everything, she getting nothing. The heavens not having that. You know, everybody must be treated the same. Just want to throw that out there. Hopefully this, you know, edifies you, you know, to sum it all up. If you get married at a courthouse, if you get married as far as with the church, and you're not both spiritually covered under God as a first fruit, you know, as a hedge under, you know, the heavens or a divine church, you are not married. You're married according to the state, maybe according to, you know, to that township or whatever. And on paper, you're married. So you can do things within the world because Christ said, be in the world, not of the world. You know what I'm saying? You're in a whole different ball game. As when he came to earth, he wasn't subject to the earth. He was subject to the heavens. He was just living in earth and he was following certain laws and doing certain things, not to be an outcast. But a lot of the things, when they gave him, they say, who? They say, well, about the coin. He said, who faces on this? And they say, well, this is Caesar's face. When they asked him, should they pay taxes? He said, give to Caesar. What's to Caesar? Here. This is for Caesar. This is for Caesar. And give what's to God is toward God. And that just letting you know right there, whatever you claim on the earth, so be it. What God claimed, so be it. In that order. Y'all ain't ready for this, man. More teaching coming. You know what I'm saying? Y'all make sure that y'all, you know, y'all follow me because I'm going to be doing some great things moving forward. Hopefully, you know, this helped, you know, a lot of y'all in your journey to marriage or if you're divorced or understanding certain things. I'm out.